So as the bar goes up, your level, it's like when you go see a movie in IMAX, shot on 70 millimeter, it's a very different experience, you know? So you have to weigh out, but again, most of the content we make today, is viewed on the web. It's not even seen on broadcast TV. I mean, the percentage is like ridiculous. This much on the web, this much on broadcast TV, and this much in the cinema. So, but we'll be watching 4K in the home. I can't predict, you know, it's all a guessing game how fast that is, and there's other things that, you know, and companies will try to come out front, like Netflix is making a big push to come out front with 4K streaming to get more eyeballs on their thing,
but I guess like what I'm trying to get at is, you know, how discernible is this? You know, one 4K versus another 4K, and for that matter, even a 2K. You know, Harry contends that 2K is just fine. They, you know, for years the Alexa has been a staple in television series production of 2K.
Well, my super short answer, because you can talk about this for 5 or 6 hours easily. You can talk about 8-bit versus 10-bit for an hour easy, but at least I could. It depends on if you're looking at it in 2K, which is still to this day 2K DCI. When you go to see a movie theater, even when the thing comes up and it says Sony 4K, they're still showing a freaking 2K DCP, you know, through the Sony 4K projector. So there are 4K DCPs in distribution, but it's getting more and more, but it's very small. So all I can say is, to me, the difference is much more relevant when you're looking at it on a 4K monitor or on a 4K projector. And to me, I know the Alexa is a great camera. I know how much people are passionate about it and the pretty pictures and the highlight roll off. I've done post-production, production of a number of Alexa movies. You put Alexa, you know, on a 60-foot screen, it's not the same thing as putting something acquired in 4 or 5K. Whether it's the C500 or Red or any other, or F55 or F65, is, to me, the difference is obvious, but that's me. And not all people care about that stuff.
Another thing to talk about is these small form factors. You know, I mean, you can now pretty much put these cameras around your neck.
Well, there are. This is 41 megapixels. It'll only do 1080 video, but it's a Windows phone, a Nokia phone. But there's 2 4K smartphones now. So, again, it's not going to be. There's not going to be good reset time. There's not going to be dynamic range. There's not going to be bit depth. So, is that 4K phone better than a better 1080 phone?
It depends on the story you're telling or the story you're capturing. And it services it. If a little GoPro fits in my knapsack and I can climb the mountain to the guy or the gal with the answer and I can capture it in 4K, that was the right platform. As I say, you go on up, you ask the question, here's the answer. That is the right camera. And there's your answer. It's form factor sometimes, it's budget sometimes. It's just great to have all the choices. And there's no wrong or right, there are choices. And when someone calls me up, I'm camera agnostic. I don't have to have a certain camera or brand. I say, what are we doing? And it starts there. And then I fill that. I backfill the information and the choices come from that. So it's great to have all these choices. The GoPro, it's this big, the Red, you know, the Alexa, depends on the, anyway. I advocate for what's your story you're telling and what's the best way to fill that need.
Yeah, I think the other point, I know we don't have a ton of time, like one point I will try to make that is becoming increasingly more interesting to follow is also your choice of lenses on these cameras. Because not all lenses can have a high enough MTF, can allow enough light and enough detail to come through. So you can run out and get this 4K camera, whatever that is, and put a lens on that can't resolve that. Now, The other thing that's interesting about that is
That could be an artistic choice.
It might be a
exactly,
great choice.
exactly. So right now we're supporting a television show for HBO. It's really for Cinemax, but that's on HBO, called The Nick, which is directed by Steven Soderbergh. He's directing every single episode and shooting every single episode. It's being shot on the new the new red camera, the Dragon sensor. So it's on 6K sensor. He's shooting 6K HD. Okay, 3 cameras all day. With the old Series 2 super speed lenses. And the Series 2 super speed lenses, these old, you know,
They're kind of cool and bluish.
they cover the entire 6K sensor, which lots of other lenses won't, because Red sort of expanded their image circle. So he's found an aesthetic, a look of, that and it really does look stunning. So it becomes as relevant. And you know, I talked to a lot of DPs and they will say, they'll come in and they'll be doing a job on the Epic and they'll say to me, Mark, it's like, all we have left is the lenses. Because unlike your approach is the right approach, and I think things will swing. There's been a little bit of an Alexa versus Red war on the high end. It's got kind of, we're all kind of sick of it, you know, and it's kind of breaking apart too because there's other new cameras coming in that are equally as interesting. And that's not going to stop. So I think the best approach is to say, you know, I'm camera agnostic, let's look at it. But you can choose the right camera, the wrong lens, and end up with, you would have been better off with that lens and that camera, but that's why you hire a DP. Ideally.
So, you know, it's interesting that you bring up that project because I actually have been on set a couple times of the Nick. And this opens up another opportunity that is really wonderful with these cameras is that job, he's doing it all handheld. And they're able to do things with the cameras nowadays that you really couldn't do when you were operating, you know, a 35 BL just by sheer, you know, form factor, which is wonderful.
I mean, it's not what we're talking about today, but I will say in all of my years in this industry, and I've worked with all kinds of interesting people, some people I would never want to work with again, but and some people who are real cowboys, and people like Doug Lyman. I did Cruise with Doug Lyman. I think he's crazy and fun, and you know, we took cameras into Iraq, you know, on the weekend, we smuggled them through, and crazy stuff. But Steven Soderbergh is a rare filmmaker. He knows exactly what he wants. He does months of pre-production. I watched him shoot like very expensive shots, technical, very elaborate shot, one take. And he'd be like, moving on. He's looking at him like, are you crazy? He's like, no, I got exactly what I wanted, we can move on. So he shoots handheld, he shoots the A camera. There's 3 cameras on the show. Camera goes on his shoulder at 7 o'clock in the morning, rarely comes off his shoulder until lunch. And 12 hours later, they wrap, he goes upstairs and he edits for 5 hours every single night. But you know, but he know, you know, it's refreshing to work with people who have a body of experience and actually, you know, I think that gets lost a lot. Everyone thinks that they can run out and just grab a camera and be a rock star and make a movie, and unfortunately,
I did an interview with Dave Davies of the Kings Rock and Roll Hall of Fame segment, and he put it to me this way. Just because you have a Fender Stratocaster doesn't make you Jimi Hendrix. I said, I don't. Just because you have a Red or whatever doesn't make you the DP. Yes, you can be the DP, but there's nothing like having 30 years of doing it.
Right.
To your point.
Yeah, and I think the democratization of these tools on both the acquisition side and on the post-finishing side is one of the reasons I got out of the post-production business. I mean, you can finish this stuff in your apartment. I mean, to a certain degree, but certainly to the degree of delivering stuff on the web. You know, you don't need to go to you know, some of these tools are incredibly powerful. They're practically free, right? So part of what happens then is that you have more people making content, just like you have more people distributing content, a la cat videos on YouTube, right? That was a revolutionary thing. Anybody can distribute to the world, right, for free. So, but what happens is sooner or later, you see YouTube's getting better, right? Because what happens is sooner or later, nobody wants to see lame content anymore.
So, we're going to open up the floor for questions, if you guys have any. But I think that this is a good little chat. We didn't have a lot of time to talk about it. But what's wonderful is I think we're basically like a French New Wave. It's our version of French New Wave with these options that we have, the